Welcome back to the Sin and Twin podcast. It's your girl Sin, and I'm here with my twin
Jay, aka Harbinard. Without
today's guest. We've got.
I don't send you some curse.
Why don't you tell us a bit about your business? We have this thing like I despise Jay.
I'm just here for comedic relief. I don't know why I show up.
This is me, guys. I want to rewind a little bit.
You are now listening to the Sin and Twin podcast.
Welcome back to the Sin and Twin podcast. It's your girl Sin, and I'm here with my dope ass twin.
Yo. It's your boy Harbinard.
And we are here at the incomparable Studio Woe. And we are joined today by Kevin.
Kevin Escobar from Queens, New York. What's going on?
So Kevin is an amateur boxer out of the Hudson Valley. We have him on to talk about his boxing career as well as everything that led up to it.
Yep.
So welcome. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome,
Of course.
Kevin.
Thank you.
So I'm so excited for this, but I don't know where to start. I have so many questions. I have so many things that I want to get into.
Okay.
But let's start at the beginning. How long have you been boxing for?
About 6 years now.
Okay.
I've been doing it. I've loved it my whole life. I've wanted to do it for so long. It's kind of expensive in the beginning, but now that I've gotten a little bit older, I've been able to afford it. And it took about 6 years now.
6 years. Okay. So were you like Jay, where you were a young kid watching boxing? And
I mean, if you're growing up in the 90s, that's what you're watching. It's boxing. It's like the biggest events, Oscar De La Hoya, Julio Cesar Chavez, Mike Tyson.
Yo.
You're watching that growing up. It's ingrained in your blood. And then
right.
also when you're coming from the streets, what else do you know but fighting?
Right.
So it just makes sense and it clicks in your head.
Yeah. And that was an epic era of boxing, too.
That was the best.
yeah.
I mean, I'm no boxing expert, but I can say that was a dope-ass era for boxing.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
violent. Everybody was fighting everybody at the time.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Best fighting the best. Great fights.
Yep. So you mentioned the streets. Let's take it back to that. So were you born? Where were you born?
I was born in Jackson Heights.
Okay.
I went from Jackson Heights to Corona. I was growing up, and it was kind of rough. You know what I'm saying? Single mother, I had a stepfather, but he really wasn't around me like that. He was just focusing on himself. So it was just me and my mom growing up. So I did a lot of times in the street. My mom was working all the time, so all I
Right.
knew was the street. So I was getting raised by the older guys in the street, the OGs. And, I would get into gangs. And we would rob, steal from cars, and then when we'd make some money, the older guys would come around like, yo, what you got? And we'd have to give them money, So we found ways to make money for ourselves, and we were hustling.
Right. Wow, so we getting right into it.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So we did gangs, robberies, all of that.
All in one shot. Sorry about that, guys. I skipped forward.
No, I love that. Okay, so how old were you when you started getting into gangs?
I was about like 8 years old, 9 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, 8, 9 years old.
You're supposed to be playing Nintendo.
Like I said, we were very poor. We had no Nintendo. We were broke.
True that.
So we were outside. Like, we'd click up the kids and we just do devious shit. We go on the trains. We spit
Right.
on people. We'd laugh, hop on the train, go down to the city, come right back on the 7 train. It was just, we found ways to entertain ourselves when we had no money. And what
Yeah.
better way than to do some mischievous shit when you're kids?
Right.
Well, yeah, like you said, and when you're poor,
Yeah.
you have no choice but to be out. You don't want to be sitting in the house hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Hot.
No
That's
AC.
our memories, being in
Exactly.
the apartments, hot as hell.
We had no air conditioning, no nothing. It was just being outside and then make sure you're home by the time mom's home. And by
Right.
then we already did some fucked up shit.
Right. Okay, so 8, 9 years old in gangs. Did you ever get caught?
No, I never got caught. I never got arrested when I was a kid. I mean, we were pretty smart about it. We also had the older guys tell us what to do, what not to do, and how to do it.
Right.
I mean, one scheme that we used to do all the time that I tell people openly about it is we'd wait for cars to stop at red lights, and we'd have one of our friends walk in front of us. So we'd walk, and when the car hits the red light, our friend who's in front of us, we'd act like we're jumping him and robbing him. So when the guy gets out of the car, one of our friends would come over and punch him in the face, and then we'd rob him, and then we'd go. That was one of the ones we used to do. Yeah.
Damn.
And we learned that from the OG.
I'm running red lights
Yeah.
left and right now.
Oh, definitely. When you see
I
something
ain't
crazy
stopping for
going on,
nobody.
you mind your business and you keep driving. Yeah.
Yeah,
For real.
word. That's crazy. Has statute of limitations passed on this?
Oh.
Can we talk about?
Most definitely.
I'm not about to get
Allegedly.
you in trouble.
Yo,
allegedly.
It's like when you see a domestic dispute, if you get involved, a lot of times the girls start beating on you too, even though the guy was beating.
Isn't that something?
I don't know about that.
For real? For real.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I bet.
You know?
That's crazy.
But like
Okay.
you said, sometimes you got to just mind your business, keep it
Yeah.
moving.
So did that turn into, where did that path lead you? When you're 8, 9 years old in gangs, did that last for a long time for you?
Maybe until about I was like 13, 14. I remember one time we were outside in front of my house and we just see some guy getting chased down the block by one of the guys at the corner. And because my block was hot. And so this guy's running down the block and we see a guy pull off a sawed off and just blast him in the back. And all you see is like feathers. And my mom came running down and grabbed me and my friends and she threw us inside the house. The dude threw the gun under the car. And after that, my mom was like, we got to go. We got to get out of this neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
So from there, where'd you go?
We went to the other side of Corona. Like we moved. We stayed in
I
Corona.
gotta get you out of this. I'm gonna move over like 10 blocks.
Yeah.
We're good now.
Yeah, I was going to say the other side in the city too is like 0.8 miles. It's like a 10, 20
Right.
minute
It
drive.
makes a difference. It makes a
Yeah,
difference.
for
I
sure.
mean,
For sure.
I'm not gonna
no.
walk all the way over there, bro. Fuck that.
Yeah. So was that the turnaround for you?
Yeah. At that point, I started going to hardcore shows. About 14, 15. I started hanging out with
Really?
friends. Yeah. It's funny because I gave up the vice of like fighting on the streets to fighting at concerts where it's a little bit more controlled.
Oh, you know what? That makes total sense.
Yeah. It's like I've said, like fighting has always been a part of my life.
Right.
Yeah.
In some aspect
Yes.
or another.
Growing
It's
up
always
with
been there.
violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Sounds
you-
familiar.
You enjoy it. 100%.
So how'd you get into the hardcore scene?
I always liked heavy music, rock music. In a way, I kind of wanted something outside of just hip hop because when you're from the city, that's all you know. And I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? Let me listen to something new. And around the same time, it's like, Korn, Linkin Park, they have these elements of hip hop in their music. So it's
For
like,
sure.
yo, this is kind of dope.
You just said like two of Sin's favorite bands.
Did you
Yeah.
see my face light up?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, you're hitting
telling
the
you.
spots right now.
So,
No, but it's so true. Linkin Park, I mean, that's a staple band for us, right?
Right.
Like that was Jay's gateway band right there. Our oldest sister put us on to Linkin Park, and that's kind of where his journey went with, the harder music. And that is for sure my number one favorite band
Yeah.
ever. But it is because of the way they incorporated the DJ, the hip hop element,
And it was the same
rap
thing for
into
us.
it.
We moved upstate from the city and when we were real young and everything was like hip hop and
Yep.
salsa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once my sister put me on to like the heavier bands, I was like, yo, this shit's dope.
Yep.
And the aggressive part of it, right?
Yep.
That's
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason me and you love this stuff.
well,
so
you're
much,
angst.
you know? Exactly.
You're a boy, you're grown up, and you just angry. You don't know what to do with your hormones, so you just gravitate towards music that's aggressive.
And also trauma. I mean, let's be honest.
Right, yeah.
Everything that you were doing at 8, 9 years old, a lot of it, whether you acknowledge that or not,
Right.
could be traumatic.
Oh, well,
I'm sure you
yeah.
experienced some crazy things.
Oh, no, of course. And I'm very open about it. Like
Right.
around that time, too, I was also sexually molested. I'm open about that, too. I talk to people about it. It's not, I don't hide that part of my life because it happened. And when
Right.
you're a kid, you don't know how to express that anger, but by defending yourself in the street because
Right.
you allowed that to happen. In your mind, I allowed that to happen.
Yeah, a lot of guilt comes with it. You blame yourself. Why did I allow this? Why didn't I put a stop to it? All of that stuff. That I love that you're open about it though, because not enough people admit to it, or I don't want to say admit because it sounds that almost sounds like assigning blame also.
Right.
But not enough people are open about it or speak about it because it is, as we know, such a prevalent thing and something that I don't know the statistics. But off the top of my dome, I could probably say like 1 in 3 people have experienced.
Yeah, it's traumatizing.
Yeah, horrific.
And as a kid, you think that that's normal.
Right.
And then, but there are times where you're triggered and then you do things as a kid, to defend yourself outside of just that because you went through that.
Right. Was it a repetitive thing? I won't dive too deep.
No, it's
into that.
fine. Yeah, it happened multiple times. A certain family member was doing it, an older family member. And, when you're a kid, you don't speak out because you think that it's going to make you the bad person. Yeah.
Right. And there's always been, too, from the generation before us, a way too high level of hush. You know what I mean? Like, don't talk about that. Like, no, that's messed up. Don't say that about them. Or I can't really pinpoint exactly the message that used to get put out there, but it's like, you know, there was always so much hush about speaking up about things like that.
Oh,
So,
now it's not like, I mean, I have a son, and I tell him like, hey, you know, if anybody touches you, you tell your dad. You're not gonna get in trouble, and no one's
Right.
gonna get hurt. You just, you know, you got to talk about it. You learn.
100%.
Yep, and that way he knows, you know, he trusts you. And
Of
he
course.
Can say it.
Yeah, that open line of communication is so crucial.
My fear was my mother finding out and judging me for it. You know, my
Right.
family not knowing as an adult now I could have said something.
Right.
You know, but it comes with age.
Have you spoken to your mother about it? Have
Yeah.
you guys had those conversations?
Yeah, we did. We had that conversation when I finally came out and told her about it. She was devastated.
I bet.
Yeah, she was devastated. She's like, why didn't you tell me? I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know whether to tell you. I was embarrassed, you know, because when you're so young, you think I did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah, but, you know, she took it hard. I broke it to my grandmother a year before she passed, and she was massively devastated as well.
Yeah.
My whole family was shocked.
I bet. It's one of those things that it's like, of course, nobody wants to hear it.
Right.
And then when it does come out, you know, I'm sure your mother even felt a huge amount of guilt.
Of course.
You know, like it was her fault also. You know, all of the emotions that come with that.
She talks about it now. Sometimes we'll talk on the phone, and she's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, Mom, it's okay.
Yeah.
You were, you know, you were busy providing. Even then, I knew, like, you were doing your best.
Right. That's the biggest thing. And I think the biggest grace that we could award our parents is that they were all just doing the best with what they had.
Right.
We
Yeah.
talk about that often, right? It's just, and that's all we're doing too as parents.
Right.
We're doing the best that we can with what we have right now. You know, hopefully we're doing great by our kids,
Right.
but at least we're hyper aware of all of those things so we can break those generational curses.
That's
for sure.
why it was the streets for me, because that was my
course.
safe place. You know, I was with my boys. We knew how to, you know, I don't know what my friends were going through at the time. They didn't know what I was going through, but we found each other in this chaos that is New York City, and we're fighting people, and we're fighting people together.
Yeah,
and
they're
having
going to
a great-
protect you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
got your back.
And these older guys in the corner, you know what I'm saying? Like, they're taking care of us. You know, come here, young blood. I don't got no money. Yo, here's 5, here's 10, here's 20. You know,
and that
how it
becomes
works.
your family.
that is
You know, the streets.
Right. 100%. So going back to the hardcore scene and things like that, I think it's definitely, I think that that's just been the common factor with, you know, just everybody we grew up with in that music scene and everything. It's just like you said, we all got a lot of stuff to let out. I couldn't let it out. Jay wouldn't let me. He was like, if I see you anywhere near the mosh pit, I'm going to kick their asses, and then I'm going to kick your ass for even putting me in that position.
He's a good big brother, I'm telling you.
The best. But I'm not going to lie. I would look at that mosh pit and be like, man, I got some stuff to let out to you guys. So I think it's very interesting that it does go for you from the streets to the hardcore scene to just trying to let that out in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I even started my own crew. We started with just like 6 of us. A few years later, we're like 40 deep.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's mostly predominantly Latino and Black, and a couple sprinkled white guys in our crew, because it's a predominantly white scene,
Right.
in New York or everywhere across the states. And we found a safe place, again, another safe space for us to have fun amongst all that chaos that we were surrounded around. Yeah.
Right. So are you still down for the hardcore scene? Are you still
Not as much, no. I've actually grown distant from it, just because I know that at the time I needed it because it was there for me.
Sure.
But I had to move on from that because a lot of the people in it, and I'm not criticizing those that still do it, it's just there's a lot of negativity in it and not a lot of progress when it comes to mentally. A lot of people just want to stay down and be angry all the time, and I can't be that way anymore. I'm a dad now.
Right.
And I got to try to do better for myself. Maybe I could do that in hardcore, but for me, it's just not for me anymore. I outgrew it.
Okay. Were you ever in bands or anything like that? Or were you just
No, I just led a
spectator?
crew. Yeah, that's another thing. When you're in a crew, you're leading a crew of like 40 guys. You're bound to get into fights. You're bound into hurting people. You're bound to jumping guys. To the point where one time a friend of mine got arrested at a show, and they brought him in for questioning. He told me this story, and it was for like a gang assault on some kid at a show, and NYPD pulled out a file with pictures of all of us, and he pointed at a picture of me, and he said, "Is this the leader?" And from what my friend told me, he's like, "I don't know that man."
Who that?
And
never seen him a day in my
yeah,
life.
so NYPD was like investigating.
They were on it.
Yeah, they were investigating, and that's when I was like, "Oh shit."
How'd you get out of it?
you just walk away.
Yeah.
It's not a real gang, it's just a music scene. You have fun and you can walk away. I think people are very understanding if you want to just move on.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. So you were able to healthily.
Yeah, I mean,
part
I'm
ways
still
with
friends
it.
with all those people.
Sure.
We talk all the time. We have our group chats. We still do barbecues and stuff like that. It's just,
That's nice.
You guys
We
aren't
don't-
spending your time at hardcore shows.
yeah, it's a local underground thing. So I don't have to be a part of it. But I made lifelong friends, and that's how I met my, the mother of my son, my wife now. I met a lot of people that way. It was also a blessing. So I'm not here to bash it either.
Right. How old were you when you moved here? Or was that pretty recent?
When I moved up here, it was about like 6-7 years ago. I moved to the Hudson Valley. The mother of my son, when we separated, she moved up here, and I was still living in Queens at the time. And I decided to move up and be closer to my son with my girlfriend at the time. Yeah, so it's been about like 7-8 years.
Okay. All right. So that was more recent. I feel like we skipped a gap here. So you're in the hardcore scene. Were you boxing yet in that area? I know you said you've been boxing for 6 years, but
I was jumping in and out of boxing gyms. Yeah, I was boxing. I was trying to box, but it was just a lot of the gyms in the city. They say that they're boxing gyms, but they're like MMA gyms where they do a little bit of everything. So they're not all about boxing. And I kind of wanted the fundamental old school OG boxing gym to go to, and it was nowhere near me at the time. So I would just hop in and out of gyms, but I wasn't very serious about it until I came up here.
so is it ignorant of me to say, like, I feel like those boxing gyms are very few and far between, or are they more prevalent than maybe I realize?
I think now that I'm a part of the community, they
Yeah.
are very prevalent. They are
Okay.
there, but you just got to know where to look. And, the internet, I didn't know how to use Google or whatever. So I didn't know how to find a good one. I just local boxing gym and I just find one and it's like an MMA gym, and it's not really my thing. It's never been.
Right. I feel like around here, I mean, I don't know, maybe you know better than I do. I don't feel like there's enough of them around here.
Definitely not
feel
here,
like
like in the city.
right, yeah, in the city there's
There's like
probably
a
way
couple
more.
in Queens, couple in Brooklyn, but definitely up here.
Yeah, there's a
think
couple
there's-
up here. There's APJ. Shout out to APJ. Shout out to, Hook Elite and Newburgh. Those guys, we all like work together. We have guys spar each other. So,
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna have to get more info.
Yeah, I think there's
from you
one in
on that.
Middletown too. New Breed Boxing.
yeah, I think that's the name of it. It's those guys come by our gym too.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Shout out to all the boxing gyms in the Hudson Valley.
Shout
Yeah,
out, shout out.
absolutely.
You got a fight coming up, don't you?
August 19th, it's funny, it's half karate, half boxing. 5 karate bouts, 10 boxing bouts. I've never seen something like that before.
Yeah,
I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I think Anthony was saying it's like the first of its kind up here for Floyd Patterson Boxing Club. Shout out to Anthony and
Shout out.
Kevin fights out of the Floyd Patterson Boxing Club. But yeah, tell us about the show. How many fights do you have? Why don't you tell us more about your boxing career?
10 boxing bouts. Some of the guys from my gym are fighting on that. I think guys from APJ are fighting. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Getting ready for a fight, you just all get together, especially if you know each other from gyms. We all work with each other because we all want to win. We want to make our gyms look great. We get nervous. So we're all there for moral support, but we're very excited for this show because it's crazy. I've never seen something like this before. 5 karate, 5 boxing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I think it's been done.
And
That is so
I'll
cool.
definitely be in the building.
Thank you.
I've seen Kevin fight before. It's very, very
Really?
intense. Yeah, it's different too. Like, I've been a boxing fan for a couple of years, and when you go to see somebody fight, it's like it's totally different. You're like,
You got skin in the
whoa.
game at that point.
Yeah, you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
like, that's my boy in there. Like
Yeah.
that dude's hitting him, like kill him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just like it's the craziest adrenaline rush that you're not even, you're not in the ring, but watching you fight obviously is exciting too with your style.
Yeah.
You're like a pressure fighter.
I'm 100%. I'm a pressure fighter. Yeah.
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 When you made the decision to do boxing and take it seriously and go all in, what occurred there? Like, how old were you? Was there something that occurred in your mind where you were like, I've just got to go all in with this?
I fell in love with the sport since I was a kid, but the minute it happened was I was already married. So I started boxing in 2016, and I was pretty much almost 300 pounds. And I wasn't healthy. I wasn't feeling well. I was out of shape. And there was this one time I was sitting down on my couch playing a video game, and I felt like my arm go numb on me. And I had to rush to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack or a stroke or
Right.
something. It was very scary. Turns out that it was just stress, but to me, it was like a wake-up call. Like, okay, that it wasn't a heart attack or anything, but it could possibly happen because I'm so overweight for my size. So,
Side note, what video game was stressing you out like
I think
that?
Assassin's Creed.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, he's playing a video game? He's that stressed out?
Yeah,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Babe, my arm's going, shut off the fucking video game.
Oh yeah, it's funny because I like to fight and knock dudes out and try to hurt somebody, but like when I'm sick, I'm a baby. Like I don't know,
Right.
like I don't know how to react. I'm paralyzed. I'm like, help me.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, all guys.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you men.
And that's
I'm
when I
achy.
decided. That's when I was like, all right, I want to take the boxing serious. Plus, you ever have those dreams that you're sleeping and you're in a fight, and then
And
you're
you
like,
can't throw the punch.
you can't throw the punch.
Oh my gosh. Let me tell you something. Sometimes I wake up from those fights.
Yeah.
I'm like, I gotta go beat somebody's ass
Or-
just to prove I
Exactly.
can
Just to
do
redeem
this.
yourself.
Yeah, I'd have those all the time. Like, yo, I'm soft. I must be pussy. You
I
know?
gotta get in the ring.
I gotta get in there. Yeah.
You go to the grocery store. You want some?
Yo,
Yeah, that's
the
what I
craziest
thought.
thing is now Kevin's been boxing, beat motherfuckers up. He's still in the dream. I still
No,
can't
you know
punch.
what's funny? 100 No, you know what's funny? Now that I'm like, I'm fighting all the time. In my dreams, I'm hurting people.
Nice.
And I'm like,
Really?
yeah. So listen,
So you can follow through with your punch in your dreams
yes,
now?
100%. Like I
that's
beat
it. I'm
somebody
going
to
to
a
the
pulp
gym.
in my
I know,
dream.
right?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like your brain gets rewired now that you're hitting that bag so much. It's like
I want to know why it is, and I don't. I got to sidebar this really quick. I gotta know why it is that happens, that we can't follow through with our
It's your-
punches,
it's your-
or they're like, like mad stuff. Like, what is that?
it's your subconscious like telling you like, yo, your butt. Like,
No, stop.
You're
Stop.
mad butt. Like relax. You're not
You're
that tough.
mad butt.
Jay,
outta
I'm
here.
gonna
You
beat
saw.
your ass after
You
this
saw.
episode just to prove myself.
You
Yeah, I'll
booty.
knock you out. Especially yo, Kevin, watch this hook. Pow, knocks in out.
Jay always gets me in the kidney.
Does he?
Yeah,
Body shots.
You got
all the time.
Where it
But
doesn't show.
notice, where's my kidney though?
It's right
Behind
there,
me.
yeah.
It's behind me, right? Exactly.
Then
He
I
stay
run.
coming.
He's a good
wrong.
brother. He's a good brother.
I don't even slip the punch. I just run.
Okay, I'm sorry. So we were talking about how you almost had a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so at that moment, it clicks in your head, like,
Yeah.
I got to make a change.
Yeah, I got to take care of myself.
Right.
I was also tired. I'd take a picture with friends and I'd see myself in pictures. I was like, I'm better than that. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's when I was like, all right, let me just do this, and I just kept going to the gym. At some point, you get used to the pain because that's all the gym really is. It's pain. Like you're sore all the time, you're in pain all the time, and you just got to get used to it. And the encouragement of Coach Anthony was very pivotal. I never really had a male mentor in my life, and he came into my life at the perfect time, and he talked to me like a human being. He wouldn't talk down to me, and I'm so thankful for him. And I
Yeah.
don't tell him enough, but he
Right.
knows. And he was very motivational as to me continuing the boxing and saying, Kevin, if you want to pursue this, you can. You just got to believe in yourself, hard work and dedication. As I'm running up and down the stairs dying.
It's like, bro, I don't want to hear it right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Anthony. He really
Yeah.
is
Shout
an
out
amazing
to Coach
guy,
Anthony.
and looking out for the community and
Yeah.
the kids. He really is not celebrated. And
One thing I've learned about the boxing is that it's a very dirty sport. And, you hear that for a long time, but it is a little bit dirty. And some people are just, they don't have your best interest in mind. But with this gym that I joined, it's like a family. And I'm very happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
I think it's so crucial too, especially, it's not like you were already in shape and you were going into boxing or anything. I think just being in the state that you were in and then going into a sport like boxing, it's so crucial to have someone like that.
Right.
I'm not sure that, well, I'm not going to speak for you or anything, but it's like, do you think you would have been able to do that journey without having somebody in your corner like that?
Not at all.
You know what I mean?
Not at all, because growing up the way that I did, you don't have a lot of self-esteem. You find self-esteem through doing acts of violence or doing dumb things. But when you have somebody,
Power.
leading a positive path in front of you, you're gonna do good things. You can't, people say, oh, I'm self-made. He's self-made. Ain't nobody self-made.
Right.
Okay, it's people that carry you along the way.
Yeah. If you say you're
Absolutely.
self-made, then somebody's not getting credit for something they should be getting credit for. That's for sure.
100%.
yeah, I say that a lot. Just the older I get, it's like the more I'm like, people are like, yo, how do you do all this? Because of my family and my friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need that
Straight
support.
up.
You need that.
Solid village. Solid village. You were almost 300 pounds. You were in an unhealthy state. How hard was it to start the boxing? Like, do you feel like that was more physically or mentally challenging?
It was more mentally challenging. I always knew that I could do better for myself. I always felt that. I'd look at myself in the mirror and I'd say to myself, "You're better than this." So it was definitely mental, because there's days where my body's killing me, but my mind is saying, "We can do this. We can go. We can go." So it was definitely mental. Yep.
There's something about just getting in there and doing it, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you said, because a lot of the times too, like, you know, I've been working out for a few months and definitely been inspired by my boy Kevin. You know, he's always posting inspirational stories and stuff on Instagram, and but a lot of it is just tricking yourself into the first 5 minutes.
It is.
Because once you get your ass in the gym, you're like, I'm gonna do it. I'm here. I'm gonna run those 4 miles. You know
Right.
what I mean? Or, you know, I'm gonna hit the bag today. I'm gonna get those 16 rounds in or whatever. You know what I mean? But just making it, I think, is the most important.
Even
thing.
now, I mean, I hit the gym every day. Even now, I have days where I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But I get up and do it anyway, because I know by the end of the day, if I don't work out, I'm going to want to, you know, be mad at myself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You'll be beating yourself. Oh, I should have got
Yeah,
in there.
I'm upset. Yeah.
And even, I think even for like my mental health, when I haven't been to the gym in 3-4 days, and I start getting like irritable, and I'm like, oh,
Very
man.
irritable. Yeah, and then you also don't want to let your gym mates down.
Yeah,
For me,
it's so true.
I love my stable mates. I love all my coaches. And if I let them down, it hurts me more than hurting them.
Yep.
So I want to be able to just, you know, and also there's kids at our gym. And there's kids that are looking up to me now because they see me at sparring, fighting. They see me win fights.
Yeah.
So I know that they're looking up to me. So I want to set a good example for these kids because, again, like I said, I never had that growing up.
Yeah.
And now that I'm in the position to be a mentor, to me, it's great.
Yeah, it's
to,
amazing.
to push myself for them because when you get older, you sort of become selfless for people.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I think I need some gym mates to hold me accountable, bro, because I'm struggling. It's not looking
Join
good
the
right
Floyd
now,
Patterson
Kevin.
Boxing Club.
Join the Floyd Patterson
In Highland,
Boxing
New
Club,
York.
Highland, New York.
I'm going to have to because I'm telling you, there's been a couple of days.
I'm
No,
working
but-
on getting her kids in there, the big ones.
It's great.
So how was the physical aspect of it for you? Because I'm not almost 300 pounds, but
So
I've hit the gym now, and I'm like, how do people do this?
I played a lot of handball in the city. That's all you have. That's
Yeah.
the biggest sport that you have is handball. So I was always semi-athletic, and I played
Okay.
football, baseball. But, you know, the older you get, when you have a kid, you start to let yourself go. And that's what happened to me. So going back into a sport wasn't that difficult. But, you know, as you're older, you're getting sore. So I was mostly sore all the time.
Right.
But that's something you can move past.
But you know what? You just made a good point too, though, because you're going back into a sport. I think it's clearly very different if you're just going to the gym and looking to get healthy and lose weight versus doing a sport that you love and enjoy doing. And I think that adds, you know, a different aspect of motivation, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, you're competing. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're human, and sometimes we want to be better than the next guy. So a lot of it was, you know, am I better than this guy over here? Can I be better than that? Or can I learn from this guy? And so a lot of it was, you know, we're human. We want to learn all the time. And I felt like I enjoyed the experience of learning a lot. And that's what pushed me to keep moving past the pain, past the mental anguish. It was just like, I want to get better at something because I want to be like that guy over there who's nasty with it. And he's a beast. Yep.
So are you one of those people that's like, I want to be the best in this room?
Yes and no. Boxing is a very humbling sport. When you think you're the biggest, toughest beast, there's somebody who's bigger and better than you, who's younger than you, who has more experience, who grew up doing this when they were in diapers. And you go in there with them and spar a couple of rounds and you're like, man, I'm outclassed. And when it comes to boxing, you can't walk in there thinking you're some tough shit because there's some guy who's 1,000 times tougher than you. So that's one thing I did learn about boxing real quick, immediately when I got in there the first time to spar was, oh, I'm not as nice as I thought I was.
So that was something I was thinking about as you were talking is your first spar. What was that like for you? Well, how long did you train before you sparred for the first time?
Anthony will not let you go in there unless you're there for at least 3 months. You know,
Okay.
hitting the bag, training, working on your conditioning. But you can do all that. The minute you step in there to spar, it becomes a different beast. Everything goes out the window. Your training, you you don't know how to handle it. The adrenaline rush that you get. I went in there and I was horrible. I was a mess. I was out of breath in 15 seconds because a lot of people don't realize that boxing is a lot mental, but you also got to work on your physicality. And I just wasn't prepared. I was nervous and I was no good.
Did you get knocked out?
No. I've
Good
never
for
been
you.
knocked out.
You've never been knocked out?
Never been knocked out, never been knocked down. But I have
Really?
I have said, can we stop? So
Really?
Somebody's gonna buzz you at some point.
I've been buzzed before. I sparred some guy who was like a bare knuckle fighter. He's been on like pay-per-views and stuff. I sparred him, and that's one of the first times where I felt like my body shook completely. I was buzzed, and that's the exact word to use. When you get hit so hard, you feel your body vibrate. But again, by that point, I was already very much experienced, so I knew how to handle that, and I was able to put it on him. So we stopped sparring then. We stopped at the end of the round, but yeah, that's the closest I've ever come to getting hurt.
This buzz thing has me really intrigued because I obviously well, I don't know if it's obvious, but I've never experienced that before. So it's like a whole body vibration.
Yeah, I got hit so hard that it goes from your head to your toes. It's like a buzz. It feels like a buzz, like a bee's in you or something like that.
Jay, you ever got buzzed before?
I wouldn't say to that point of feeling it through my body, but you know, I've been punched in the head and the face a couple of times, pretty hard. You know what I mean? Or you get like the ringing in your ears all of a sudden. You're like, oh shit.
Like in the movies when like the bomb goes off in the background and it's like everything's ringing.
Like
Is
the
that
ringing
what it?
in your ears, basically.
Yeah, Saving Private Ryan or something like that.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, sort of like that, but you have a guy who's still throwing punches, so you got to wake up and snap out of it. And
Yeah,
keep
see,
going.
and that's the thing. Like I've never like competed or like sparred. You know, like growing up with you know, our friends and the type of people we grew up with. You know, you're always boxing each other and fighting each other,
slap
fucking
boxing.
around. Yeah, you know. So, but like it's like you said, it's totally different when you have somebody in front of you who knows how to throw a punch.
Yeah.
Because you know, like you said, we all think we're better than we are until you get in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's
And,
guys. There's guys that have come up from the streets, and there's videos on YouTube of guys that go into gyms just trying to start fights with the trainers or the fighters in there, and they go in there and they get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And you know I've seen that happen before at other gyms where a guy walks in thinking he's this tough shit, trying to intimidate all the fighters, and poor guy gets his ass knocked out in seconds because boxing and street fighting is just two different worlds.
It's too different.
But you got to respect anybody who's getting in there and have a fight. Because
Yeah,
it
for
takes
sure.
a lot to step in there. You know, I've competed 4 times now. I'm going on my 5th fight, and it's nerve-wracking every time before you go in there to fight.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Kevin. I know you get used to it over time, and I know that just you know, because I watch boxing, I'm a little more involved. But tell us about like what the adrenaline can do to you in a bad way too. Like you could get an energy dump, right? Like if you're super nervous and you get in there to spar, I'm sure like when you first started sparring, like you said, you were gassed.
Yeah.
But part of that, right, is the adrenaline dump that
Yeah.
your body gets because you're so like, oh my God, I'm about to, you know, get into it. And then once you're in, and like you say, you have somebody coming at you, and now you're tired.
Yeah.
You know.
So when you're fighting and when you're actually competing, it's funny. We talk about it all the time at the gym. You feel like you're on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, sometimes the adrenaline takes over. That it's an out-of-body experience.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody else has experienced this. I know that my coach told me that sometimes he wouldn't be able to remember his fights because it was on autopilot and everything.
So it's like you're blacking out.
You're blacking out, but you're also going through muscle memory. You're there, you're present,
Right.
but it's all muscle memory. Like, oh, okay, I took that punch. Let me not take it again. But you walk out of that ring sometimes and you're like, oh man, I did that. And when you rewatch the fight, you're like, wow, I didn't know I did that. It's all due to great training from your trainers that, you know, you were able to do these things. But it's nerve wracking. Like before I get in there to fight, I'm a mess. You know, mentally I'm scared. I'm nervous. I don't want to lose. My friends are here. My wife is here. My kid is here. I don't want to lose.
It's a lot of pressure.
I'm getting stressed out just listening to it. I'm not gonna lie.
August 19th.
August 19th.
Come out.
Come
and
see it in
him.
person.
You know, but now I have a little bit more experience. You know, you do learn from every fight that you have. My last fight, I learned a lot from that fight, what to do and what not to do. And you go back to the gym and you work on it. You know, I'm not a pro. I'm not a professional. I'm not making money. I do this for fun. I do it because I love it. I'm not doing it.
It's your passion.
It's for self-glory. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing pay-per-view numbers, but I have a hobby that I love. And I found something outside of, you know, being in gangs, robbing people, fighting some people in the street. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do it in a controlled space where it's sanctioned.
People are competing.
People are
That
competing.
other person wants to fight you.
That
and
other
compete
person wants to
with you.
fight. Yeah, and after I'm done fighting with the guy, we give each other a big hug
yeah.
because I met you. And I just met you, but I know so much about you now that we threw punches at each other, and I know what you're made out of, and you know
That's
what I'm made out
interesting.
of.
That's
What
very
type
interesting.
of heart somebody has.
You make a weird bond. Like, my last fight, I fought the guy, and we're in there, and we're fighting, and there's like 10 seconds left in the fight, and I told him, as we're throwing punches now, we're trying to hurt each other, and I tell him, great fight, and he's like, yo, great fight, bro, and we're just trying to knock each other out, and as soon as the fight was over, we just gave each other a big hug, and as soon as the fight was done, we were in the back just shooting the shit. Like,
That's awesome.
oh man, that was great. That was awesome.
That's always been something
Beautiful
I've
violence.
had. That's something I've always had such a hard time wrapping my head around, and it's probably due to the type of person that I am. But I always see, like the camaraderie after a fight, and I'm like, how? You punched me in the face. I'm not sure I could be that nice to you afterwards, But it's because, again, I'm not a boxer, and I'm sure that that's what I wanted to touch on too, that there's got to be there's definitely mutual respect, not only for each other, but for the sport and for what you guys are doing there. Was there ever a time where that wasn't there?
No, every time there's nothing but respect for each other. I mean, like, when you're a professional and you're doing this for a living, yeah, you're going to have beef going in there before the fight because, this guy's trying to strip you of your livelihood. This one fight can devastate your entire career.
That's
You're
for
feeding
the
your family
professionals.
off of that.
Yeah, or
That's a very good point.
if you're in a tournament and you want to win, yeah, maybe there's a little bit edge there, but as soon as that fight is over with, that you gave each other everything. And the last thing you want is to hurt somebody or kill somebody or them hurt you and your family be, in the hospital worried about you. So I don't ever go in there to try to hurt somebody, but I do try to go in there to win. Now, if I knock somebody out, okay, I knocked them out, but I'm not going to jump on top of them and try to hurt them any more than that.
Right.
But no, there's never been any hostility in my heart towards anybody when I'm competing. It's just I want to win and I want to show that I'm the best at what I do in my gym.
Does your family have a hard time watching you?
My mother does not want to watch.
Oh, I bet.
She refuses. My mom is a Christian through and through. She does not. She said that if she goes to a fight and watches me fight, she's going to go in there with a chancleta. So I was like, all right, Mom, don't embarrass me. I'm too old.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like Jay said, we want to get my kids into boxing, and I definitely think that it would be good for my son to get started in. But then I think about my son doing it at any age, and I'm like, maybe I'll just have to.
With boxing and to the parents that are watching this, like, it's great to have your kids in boxing because it builds a lot of self-esteem. They
That's
believe
what I
in
want for
themselves. They're going to learn so much about themselves that they can reach the heights that they want to reach because they're doing these things that they're not used to and they're getting good at it. So I always recommend kids, like, bring your kids to the boxing gym. It's going to be a great time.
And most people wouldn't do it. So it's like if a kid can do it and prove to himself, oh my God, I could get in a ring and box. Most kids won't do that.
No, they want to meet the iPad, the Fortnite, all these video games. Yeah, of course not. But, if you're really trying to pay attention to your child and you want the best for them, it doesn't have to be boxing. It could be baseball. It could be hockey. It could be anything. Just get your kid out there and have them, make friends and have them have hobbies because they will thank you the older that they get, 100%.
Does your son enjoy watching you?
Yeah, so my son, he came to my last fight and I pointed at him right before I fought the guy. And when I won the fight, he was just, I can tell he was so proud of me because all the, I main evented the Mid-Hudson Civic Center there in Poughkeepsie. I was the last fight. And all the guys from the...
Wow, that's a big deal.
To me.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
I
awesome.
just threw it out there,
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Kind of a headliner.
Yeah, I main evented it. And to me, it was awesome because when I first moved up here, it's one of the places that I first went to. And I was like, oh, wow, man, this is great. And I went to one of Anthony's boxing events there, and I was like, wow, it'd be great if I did this. And when I did it, I was like, oh, man, I'm backstage right now. Oh, wow, I'm main eventing. So my kids, I could see him in the crowd, and I pointed at him right before I fought. And when I fought, I won by TKO. They stopped the fight. The guy couldn't go on anymore. I just pointed at my son, and when he came over, all the guys from the gyms in the Hudson Valley, they were like happy for me. And I could just see how proud he was of me, and that meant everything to me.
That is incredible. So he doesn't get like nervous or, worried for you?
No, not at all. He just wants me to fight already because
Yeah.
he's like, all right, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's excited for the outcome.
100%. Yeah. And that I was so proud. It was my child, my wife, my friends were there. It was great. And the kids from the gym, which is again important to me.
Yeah. Is it hard for her to watch you too?
No, she loves boxing.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
She loves boxing. She came to the Jays, barbecue boxing event that
boxing
we had.
night.
Yeah, she had a
Yeah.
great time. Yeah, she
And
she
actually,
loves
there
it.
was a couple of fights like back in the day before me and Kev even knew each other that we were both at, like Keith Thurman versus
Spence.
Sean
Sean
Porter.
Yeah.
We were both at that fight, and we met years later. We started hanging out, watching boxing and stuff.
It's crazy.
And we'd be
how
like,
small
"Yo,
the
I
world
was
is.
at that fight too.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
at that show
Yeah.
too."
Isn't it crazy how that happens?
Yeah, it's a small world for sure.
That's so cool. Is your son going to get into boxing? Is he interested?
No, my son wants to be like a graphic designer, and you know what? I don't push it on him.
Good for him.
I don't push it
love
on
that.
him. No, I don't push it on him because
Yeah.
again, he's growing up differently than I did. Like I said, I grew up hostile, fighting in the streets, gangs. My kid, he's very sheltered, and it's a good thing because you want the best for your kids. You don't want them to
Absolutely.
grow up the way you did. I don't want him going to those hardcore shows and mosh pits or any of that. No, you do what makes you happy, and I'm going to be there to support you because again, I didn't have that. It was just my mom and my dad wasn't really around. So I'm trying to set an example for him.
And I think you're doing a great job too.
Yeah, man,
Especially
for
he gets
sure.
to see you do that and win.
Yeah, it's very inspiring. I'm telling you.
Thank you.
Like I said, I was at Kevin's first fight, and just to watch him go in there and do his thing, and he fought somebody much younger than him.
Much younger.
You know what I mean? And wow, like after I was just like, damn, like he went in there and did his thing, and
Nerve-wracking.
it takes so much courage, you know what I mean? Like, I've gone to Floyd Patterson Boxing Club and trained and stuff, but I never got to the point where I wanted to spar because I didn't get into that shape where I felt like I was, I knew I was gonna get whooped in there because I would have got gassed, you know what I mean? And I wasn't taking it seriously enough for that. So to see, somebody I know, step up and say, yo, I'm going to actually do this and I'm going to lose the weight, train, eat good, work hard, even though I got to work a job and be a parent and get in that ring with somebody younger than him and, do his thing in front of, what do you got, like 50 people there? There was,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a mob.
Yeah, there was
what
like
I mean?
over
We were-
100 and something people.
Yeah, we were going crazy, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And it was really inspiring to see. So
Yeah, and it's great to see my friends came by, they supported me,
Yep.
they came up from the city and they were just so happy for me because like you said, they see the hard work that you put in and it's great to have that kind of support and I'm sure you guys have that support too with your podcast, with your hobbies.
Yep, for
If
sure.
you don't have people supporting you, it's what's it all for?
Yeah, yeah, you want to share that.
100%.
You want to share that with your people.
We're human. We try to share.
Yeah. Do you want it to become more?
I'm a little too old now.
Okay.
And I know my limits. Again, like I said, I'm an amateur. I have a job. I have a child. Maybe if I was younger and I had the ability and the will to do it back then, I didn't have it. I was immature. I was in the streets, but and that's okay. I've come to peace with that. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what I love. And my plan after boxing is to train the young guys.
Love that.
Awesome.
And the only way you can train somebody is through experience. I'm not going to walk into a gym and get trained by some guy that's never had a fight or doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm not going to respect him. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to think it. So I want to walk into a gym, my gym, and train a new guy and him say, how many fights did you have? Oh, wow, 6, 7, 10, 15 fights? All right, I'm going to listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. And now at this point, that's my goal, to continue in boxing in some way, shape, or form to help somebody,
And to make the difference that Anthony was able to make for you.
100%. Coach Anthony and Coach Derek. Yes.
Awesome.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Hey, so I gotta ask because I'm a massive boxing fan. My brother Kevin here is a massive boxing fan. July 28th, we got a really special treat coming up. We got Errol Spence versus Terrence Bud Crawford, and I need at least, you don't have to give me a prediction right now, an exact prediction, but I need to know where you're leaning towards.
I love, it's funny, I love both of them. I didn't think that this fight would happen, but I
Yeah,
love them both.
For people who don't watch boxing, this is basically like one of the biggest fights in the past 10 years, pretty much since Mayweather and Pacquiao, that we've been waiting for 5 years, maybe. We've been waiting for this fight to get made. So now it's finally made. I don't want to interrupt you, but just to give the listeners a kind of an idea of what we're talking about.
I love both guys, and I don't see this ending in a knockout, but I think Crawford's going to win this fight by unanimous decision. But if Spence wins, good for him. I'm happy. It's just
sure.
it's a win for boxing.
Absolutely.
It's a win for boxing. It's growing the sport.
I'm going to second that. I'm going for my boy Bud Crawford. I think he's going to get the job done. Same thing. I don't know if it's going to end up in a knockout. It's as 50-50 as we can get, right? And that's the biggest thing is like if Spence wins, I don't think anybody's going to be upset because we all know we don't really know what's going to happen here, right?
These
we
two
could
guys
come up
are-
with a couple of scenarios, but we really have no idea. It's about as 50-50 as we can get.
These guys are great. Both of them are great champions.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So maybe you might have to come over for that fight. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
I'll take off.
Jay's always like, "There's a fight coming up," and I'm like, "At what time?"
Yo, you know what they do?
It
bro?
always ends late.
They
So
invite me
late.
places on Saturdays, and I go, "Don't you know the fight is that night?" Yo, even
Oh, it'll be a kid's birthday party, and he's like, "All right, but do you have this channel or like, yo, can we order the fight though? Because if
that's
we can
how-
order the fight, then I
I'll
will
come.
be there.
Then I'll come.
You know, it goes all
Kevin
around
knows.
that.
Like Kevin used to text me, "Yo, you getting the fight tonight?" He'd be like, "Yo, I'll slide through at 10
I'll
o'clock."
pull up. Yeah.
Do you guys think that it's like a, because I think Chaos made this comment the last time we were talking about boxing, that like, do you think this is like Gladiator evolutionized, of us just enjoying two people go
Absolutely.
at it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. And now we
Is
have
that what
slap
the-
boxing.
That's a thing.
The
like
slap
a-
competition.
We have
right?
slap competitions now.
That's
we have
crazy.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah, it's a
You
thing.
never seen
100%.
I mean, I've seen like YouTube.
Yeah. But Dana White owns it. The guy from the UFC owns the
Yeah.
league now.
Okay, so there's a league.
Yes.
That's what I didn't know. I'm talking like I see YouTube people in the backyard slapping the hell out of each
No,
other.
this
but
is like sanctioned. People
Yeah, it's
slapping
sanctioned.
the shit out
Yeah.
of each other.
Instead of getting homeless people from outside fighting, now you just
Bum fight. Shout out bum fight.
shout out bum fight.
it's not entertaining then. So what advice do you have for kids that may be coming up in boxing, or even two-part question? What advice do you have for kids that are in the streets right now, or think that that's all they can be doing right now, or maybe don't see that other path that they could be taking?
I think the first thing would be to talk to your parents, and if your parents don't understand or don't, try to find a positive influence, whether it be one of your school teachers, because sometimes those teachers really do care and do want the best for you. Talk to a counselor, talk to somebody. You can talk to people about your trauma, and there's going to be help out there all the time. It doesn't have to be, your friends, because maybe you don't know what your friends are going through. So that's my answer to that.
Very well said. No, very well said. And how about these young kids coming up in boxing? This new generation that's making it happen.
Keep working.
Yeah.
You got to keep working and believe in yourself that you are better than what you think you are. And there's going to be days where you just hate the sport. You're tired. You had a horrible spar session. You hurt your arm. Keep working, because you don't see results in one day. It's a long process, but it pays off when you have your arm being raised by a referee saying you won this fight, and all that hard work you put into it pays off.
I love that. I'm so sold. I got to put SJ in boxing.
Do it.
I have to.
Do it.
Do it. Bacardi Cola, do it.
And then my last question is, what do you love about it? I know you've spent this entire interview just saying all the amazing things about boxing, but what does it do for you?
I feel like
this point.
I feel like boxing has saved me. I felt like I had no purpose outside of just being a parent, being a husband. I think as adults, we need to find something else that makes us happy outside of our family life, outside of our work
Yes.
life. We need hobbies.
Yep.
Because then you feel like you're stuck. But when it comes to doing a hobby, you're always learning. You're always doing something new. You're experiencing something new. And you walk out of there like, wow, this is great. So that's my best advice to anybody, is just find a hobby and find something that makes you happy. And for me, it's been boxing. And it has saved my life, because outside of this, I don't know what I'd be doing.
Right. I can relate to that so much. We talk about it all the time. Like that's how this podcast was even brought about. I was in that point in my life where I was like, what am I doing? Like, yes, I love my kids. Yes, I love my husband. And, this life is great, but I need something, for me.
But maybe
you
you can help somebody with this podcast at the same time. Say,
Right.
hey, maybe I can get up, and she's a great motivator. And I love that show, and I
Absolutely.
want to do that too. And maybe you'll get your own podcast or start a different hobby, whatever it is. It's just do something for
Do
yourself
something. Yeah,
that
exactly.
you find joy in, and something maybe you spent 20, 25 years not doing anything and you've always loved. Just do it.
yeah.
It's going to pay off at the end.
Yeah, that's what I tell my daughter all the time. And you know, she's always telling her friends about the podcast, and you know, she's like the number one fan of this podcast, and she's always bragging about it. And she tends to always say when she's talking about it to her friends or to anyone else, she's like, you know, my mom's got all these things going on, but she's got this podcast, and you know, she's doing it, and she's, you know, she's raising her kids, and she's doing this and she's doing that. And it's just to see that be put out there from her perspective without me coercing it or without me trying to shove it down her throat or say, look at everything that I'm doing. She's just seeing it. And in turn, you know, my hope is that, you know, her or even her friends, anybody, any of these kids can see that, you know, it doesn't have to stop at parenthood. It doesn't have to stop, you know, with your marriage. It doesn't have to stop because you're a certain age, you know, because that's another factor too. People hit 30 and they think,
It's over.
it's over. I got to go to this 9 to 5 and I got to just, you know, adult now, you know. So I definitely think that even when we don't realize it, what we're putting out there just by fulfilling ourselves is huge, especially for the next generation.
Especially for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think you're setting an amazing example for your son and for a lot of kids at the gym and anybody who's
Even my
listening
friends,
to this.
even
yeah.
my friends, I, you know, a lot of them have come to me with their stories. Oh my God, yo, I lost like 20 pounds. Thank you. You're so positive. Oh, I'm doing this, doing that. Thank you. Like, and it's great to me having that feedback. And, you know, I felt like a lot of my life was a lot of negativity. And now that
Right.
I've turned this page in my life, I'm inspiring friends. And that's awesome because that's all I've ever wanted to be. And I feel like we're all good people at the end of the day. We just have to find ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that.
August 19th.
August
big day.
19th.
Get Kevin Escobar.
So where's
will be in
this
the ring.
happening?
It's in Gardner, New York. Half karate, half boxing. It's gonna be about 15 fights in total. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna try to knock the guy out, you know, just for this show. Shout out to the Twins podcast.
Hell yeah.
Sin and Twin, baby.
We can't wait. We will definitely be in the building supporting
Yes,
our
we'll be
boy.
there.
And, you know, if you like boxing or you like karate or any type of combat sports or you're curious, definitely come out to the show. I think it starts around like 3 o'clock.
3
It's
o'clock.
going to be like a midday thing. Do you know when on the card you're fighting yet?
I told my coach, please put me on early because I hate waiting all day to fight. It's
no,
nerve
it's gotta
wracking.
be brutal.
I just want to teleport in there and just start punching. So yeah, I think it's gonna be early, maybe around like 4 or 5 o'clock. I'll be fighting.
Okay. And I'll plug all the information. Stay tuned on the podcast page. We're going to be putting everything out there so that you guys can follow along and show up and support and watch Kevin knock him out. Shout out to the other boxer, but you getting knocked out.
Kevin, thanks for coming on the pod.
Thank you so much.
This was
guys,
so
for having me.
great.
I
Really
appreciate
great.
it.
I'm
really
so
great time.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you.
No, you're good.
Hey now.
I'm so grateful for you coming on here, and I think that this episode is definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be a good listen, especially for people who need to hear it, and a lot of people need to hear it, in my opinion.
Believe in yourself.
Yes, that's going to be the slogan for this episode. Believe in yourself. I love that.
All right, so we're going to get out of here. We always do a peace on 3. So you ready, Kev? 1, 2, 3.
Peace.